Okay, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to tell a quick joke, and I mentioned that on the previous video here. It's a joke that a student told me here in Saudi Arabia about a year ago. Um, Before I mention that, I'm doing this and taping this and filming this just in one take without doing a cut on my Huawei cell phone, which I bought about 3 months ago. I'd heard a lot of weird things about Huawei and read a bunch of stuff about it. And of course, the whole 5G issue and whether, Huawei is, I don't know, it has integrity with your personal details and these other things. I just said, the heck with it. I'm going to buy this phone. And I've been very happy with it. I realized that the pixelation and the veracity of the video is not that great. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that very quickly. When I was teaching in the Philippines in 2004, 2005, and 2006, a really fun job for me. I was teaching Korean and Japanese students with Filipino teachers, co-workers at a school that had about 700 students in Cebu, Philippines. It was a really fun teaching job for me. And one of the things I would do, I would have the students kind of prepare and maybe do a little research and try to tell a joke in class. It could be a very short joke, like a one-liner, or it could be a story. And I gave the students a lot of time to do it. And then we'd find time in class and students would tell the joke. And most of the time, I was just amazed by the funny stuff that they came up with. And of course, it was a great learning tool. It helped relieve some shyness. And there's nothing like humor in any setting, of course, to make things more fun and enjoyable. And so despite the challenges, I like to use that in class if it's practical. Here in Saudi Arabia, I really haven't had a lot of opportunity to do it. There's some cultural restrictions. Some of the students here will say wild things in class that I'm really not going to encourage. But sometimes I would tell the students jokes myself. When I was teaching on the military contract a year ago, we had a lot of free time in class. The book was boring. The students were, distracted. They lived on a military base in barracks. Very challenging living environment. Everything was tough. So, every once in a while, I try to find a joke that I thought was appropriate, and I would tell the joke, and the students always seemed to have fun with it. So one day in class, a student raised his hand in the back of the room. His English speaking ability was very poor. He was with a couple of his friends in the back of the room that he had been talking to in Arabic. And he basically said, I want to tell you this joke. I've been practicing this and in English. I know you like jokes, and I want to tell you this joke. And so I was very pleased with this, and I said, great. And everybody got quiet, and the student stood up, and he started telling this joke. And he didn't tell it the exact same way that I'm going to tell it now, but I was able to piece this thing together. And I guess it just in 10 years here in Saudi, this is going to go down as like one of my small little victories because I realized how challenging it was for him. And, he wanted to please me, and he wanted to do something in sync with the things that I had been doing, So I just really appreciated this. So the joke goes like this. There's a small businessman in a small town. And his business is a little bit unusual. It's renting donkeys, okay? And he has a little storefront, and then behind that is his living space. And then behind that is like a farm-like area where he keeps animals and keeps his, business going, because this is his business, renting donkeys. The only problem with this businessman's business is he only has one donkey. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But he has a big sign up front, and the sign says donkey for rent, and he accepts paying customers that come to his business. So one day a man comes in his storefront, and he says, I'd like to rent the donkey. And the businessman says, fine, and they fill out the papers, and he gives him the rope, and the man walks off with the donkey. So far, a satisfied customer. About an hour later, another man comes into the shop. And he sees the sign, and he says, I'd like to rent a donkey. And the businessman says, okay, that's fine. The only problem is that I only have one donkey, and the donkey has already been rented. Just then, the two men in the front of the store hear this noise in the back, coming from the back. And it sounds something like this. And the customer says to the businessman, "Hey, I thought you said you only had one donkey." And the businessman says to the customer, "Well, who are you going to believe, me or the donkey?" Uh, anyway, I thought it was funny and I got a big kick out of it. So I don't know. Please tell me below if you think it's funny or if you think that it's not a very funny joke. As my co-worker in Los Angeles many years ago, David Levita said, he said, if something is funny once, it's always funny. So anyway, take it easy. I'll see you again. This is volume 3 of Pandemia. Take care.